Of course, it's still Rise and Shine, and we're coming to you live from here, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. We just talked about the 1 million walk happening in the city of Uyo tomorrow, and of course, the He for She Summit still amplifying the advocacy against gender-based violence. And we have civil society representative talking about the director of the Center for how that is eluding me right now is a very big problem.
Human rights.
Crime. Center for Human Rights and Accountability Network, CRAD. The director in Akwa Ibom State, Otokon Franklin. So good morning and welcome to Rise and Shine.
Good morning, Francis. Good morning, Uya. Good to be with you this morning.
Good to have you on the show this morning.
My pleasure always.
Well, the first question I'm just going to put to you this morning, just on what we just finished discussing. Human rights violation is one of the things you handle very effectively. Gender-based violence in Akwa Ibom State seems to have taken a different turn, especially with some of the happenings that have happened. Now, we're seeing that the African Women in Leadership Organization is coming with a 1 million, man walk to amplify the advocacy for that. What's your comment on that briefly before we get on?
I just think it's commendable. I think it's worth doing. We will continue to make this advocacy for our female folks. We'll continue to talk about the incidents, especially gender-based violence. When I was listening to you, I overheard the conversation over, a particular man who always assaults the wife. And this is what you get most times when, there are disagreements at homes. Instead of peaceful resolution, you will see the men trying to use force instead of dialogue and frequent conversation. So I think that this advocacy is worth doing. Today, I will be having a delegation from a community coming to pay us an advocacy visit, that a particular lady whose husband passed away some years ago, and she has a child for the man. The child was about the time the man died, the child was 6 months old, a female, while the male was 3 months old. And as we speak today, the family have they call it the siblings of the husband have come to oppress the wife and try to forcefully take away all her properties that were left behind by the man. And so the lady had procured the service of a lawyer. The matter had gone to even the police, but because of the influence of the family, they seem to be pushing the woman away from the circle. And so the family seem to also stand in favor of the siblings. So there's that issue. I think that by today, when they pay us a visit, we will now get the detail of it. We've had several of such cases. A particular one again we had was at somewhere along Biabong community, where a particular lady also lost the husband. The child was not yet born. The child was in the womb when the husband passed away. Now, when the child was born, the family accepted the child, but they took away all the property of the deceased, leaving the woman and the little baby with nothing. So I think when she came to us, we intervened and we were able to get the rights of the child, protect the child and the family. So this is what we keep getting on a daily basis. These are few that could even come out, that could even find their way to locate solutions. There are so many in the communities. Some you could see when the husband passed away, the families will come, shave the hair of the woman, dead the corpse, and give her the water to drink. The woman the female are always at the accused, the suspect, the accused. They're always at the receiving end when once the man passed away. But if the woman passed away, nobody talked. Before you know it, the man will move on. The man will even remarry, and life goes on. But God have it that this is what is happening, and I think that there's need for us to begin to address this issue. So that advocacy work is a welcome development.
So, like the example you have just cited, it's more like a cultural issue where you have the women are always going to answer the question for the death of their husband. We continue to have conversations around how can we shift away from some of these cultural norms in the 21st century where we live. We're seeing it with gender-based violence. We're seeing it with several other issues where a man believes that he's a lord over a woman, and so can always impact those kinds of evil on her. So in terms of culture, where, you know, you just talked about shaving of the head, drinking water from the cups, things we used to see in Nollywood. How are we taking advantage of the instrumentality of the law and advancement to be able to take those kinds of things away, such practices?
Any tradition, custom, or norms that is repugnant to natural justice, equity, and fair play is null and void. That point should be noted. And these communities, most of these policies, these traditions are even enforced by the female folks. You will see the women are the one that will come out and tell this woman that is bereaved, the widow, you have to drink this. They will shave her hair, they will put her in a solo position and make sure that they will be the one that will bull her. It is mostly enforced by the women themselves. So these traditions are not in line with the law. I recall in Akwa Ibom, I think in Etinan High Court some years ago, the High Court came up and nullified these particular practices. You cannot put the female folks to be responsible to the death of their husbands. They are already in pains. They are left alone. So why then do you come and begin to enforce traditions that are against the equity and fair play? In most traditions, they will say the woman cannot own a land. Who does that? When you are married, automatically everything your husband has is yours. Automatically. So when the tradition now abhor you or kick against you owning a land or your husband's property, such practice is completely in contrast with the constitution and with the law. So I think that if we are aware, we should be able to be let to know, and when we know, we'll go in like we've been doing to address most of these issues. And like I have said, even when these women know that these particular practices are against the tradition, the custom, and they are against constitutional provisions of the law, they go ahead to still enforce it. So let's also be talking about the women, because you will have, for instance, a particular community that we are involved. The woman leader was the one that led other women to go and enforce that custom and say the widow has to come out. They have to bring out the widow and put her. They kept her outside before, under a plantain tree, and kept a small bunch of firewood for her to sit, and ask her to drink the bath water from the cups, and then shave her hair, and then drop her with charcoal, and said she has to be indoors for 7 days. And then these are the women enforcing it. And if these are not done, they say it is an act of cleansing. They have to cleanse her, that the corpse will be sleeping with her if she is not cleansed, and all this and all that. And in most cases, in some communities, they will even ask that the widow will be sleeping in the same room with the corpse. It is the women that are enforcing it. So it is good for these advocacies to leave the urban cities and go to the rural communities. Let's begin to involve the women in the villages, in the hinterland, to know that these practices are against the natural justice, fairness, and equity. Simple. It's not about doing work. You can do this work today, do this work tomorrow, do this work for 100 days. If you don't go to the villages, if you don't involve the women leaders in the villages, the youth leaders, the village heads, getting them to know, do town hall meetings, begin to embark on tour in the rural areas, these laws will be enforced in those rural communities. But in the urban cities, the awareness could be high, they may not enforce it, but in the hinterland, it will be enforced, or except you take this message to the villages and to the town halls.
Well, of course, I wish we had a lot more time, Mr. Turcom Franklin, this morning to have a lot more conversation, but we'll definitely progress, and we still have a lot more days on our hands and the entirety of the month of March. But thank you so much for taking out the time to speak to us. Of course, rise and shine. That's the size of a package this morning. If you're a man, it's about time for you to ask yourself certain questions. Are you projecting the rights of the girl child? Remember, you have a daughter, you have a wife, you have sisters, you have a mother, and you have a girlfriend, as the case may be. And it's your duty to also amplify the awareness to ensure that their rights are being protected and guaranteed, irrespective of the environment they find themselves.